When you hear the term self-centered, it almost always lands like an insult, right? It makes you think of someone who's just egotistical, totally unconcerned with anyone else. But what if that's not the whole story? What if being centered in yourself is actually a really good thing? Okay, let's dive into this. I think for a lot of us, we're taught from a young age to put everybody else's needs first. Self-sacrifice is the heroic thing to do, while taking care of yourself can feel, well, a little indulgent. This whole explainer is going to challenge that idea. It's going to suggest that maybe, just maybe, being self-centered is one of the most generous things you can do. I mean, of course, we all know what the negative version looks like. And this quote from Psychology Today, it absolutely nails it. A self-centered person just sucks all the air out of the room, grabs the focus, and leaves you wondering why you even bothered opening up to them. It's a familiar feeling, and man, is it frustrating. So before we can flip this concept on its head, we have to get really, really clear on what we're talking about. The words we use matter a ton, and there are some pretty important differences we need to get straight. So let's break down these common definitions. Okay, what's so interesting here is the nuance. According to psychologist Dr. Margaret Rutherford, being self-centered is all about constantly pulling the focus back to you. Now, selfishness, that's a step further. That's when you're actively putting your own needs ahead of others pretty much all the time. But self-awareness, that's something else entirely. That's simply keeping your own needs on the radar and treating them with the same respect you give to others. It's all about balance, you see, not dominance. So with those ideas clear, let's make a little pivot. What if we took that phrase, self-centered, and just shifted the emphasis of it? Not as being absorbed in the self, but as being centered in the self. This is where the idea gets really powerful. And this is a fantastic way to think about it. Being centered in the self means building a strong foundation. It's about mindful self-care, sure, but it's also about having the ability to set boundaries, to say no without feeling all that guilt, and to protect yourself from unhealthy chaos. It's not about ignoring other people. It's about being grounded enough to actually engage with them in a healthy way. Okay, so let's take this idea and push it a little further, right into the world of philosophy. The writer Ayn Rand, she took these concepts to a very different place, arguing for something she called rational selfishness. Now, it's a provocative idea for sure, so let's take a closer look at what she actually meant by that. For Rand, rational selfishness isn't about just doing whatever you feel like in the moment. No. The idea is that an action is rational only if it serves your long-term, life-affirming interests. It's a whole code of values based on what it takes for a human being to survive and thrive, not just mindless gratification. So the crucial point is this massive contrast. Rand argued that popular culture has painted the selfish person as this destructive, kind of monstrous brute. But if you look up the word in the dictionary, the definition is simply concern with one's own interests. The philosophy of objectivism argues that this whole concept needed to be saved from that negative caricature. Now let's jump from philosophy over to modern psychology and see how this idea keeps building. Because a focus on the self can also be looked at through the lens of narcissism. And guess what? Just like selfishness, it turns out narcissism isn't all bad. In fact, a little bit of it is actually essential. This quote from cultural anthropologist Ernest Becker, it just gets right to the heart of it. A healthy dose of narcissism is actually the bedrock of self-esteem. He called it the desire to stand out, to be the one in creation. And that's a fundamental part of feeling like you have value in this universe. And today, modern research breaks this down even more. There's this model called the narcissistic admiration and rivalry concept, and it basically separates narcissism into two sides. You've got admiration, which is the bright side. It's about ambition, wanting to be unique and being charming. Then you have rivalry, the dark side. That's about devaluing other people, needing to be on top and being aggressive. One builds you up, the other tears others down. And just look at how this plays out in the real world, like in a workplace. A manager with healthy narcissism, they have high self-confidence that's actually based in reality, and they genuinely care about others. A destructive one, though, they're grandiose, they'll chase power at any cost, and they'll exploit people without a second thought. The difference is just profound. Okay, so we've touched on philosophy, we've touched on psychology. Let's bring all this back home to a problem that so many of us are dealing with every single day: burnout. How does being centered in yourself actually help you navigate the crazy pressures of modern life? Yeah, this is the key question, isn't it? We're so often told that if we're burning out, the answer is just more self-care. Take more bubble baths, do more yoga. But what if the problem isn't our lack of bubble baths? What if the problem is the environment we're stuck in?
Oh, I just love this reframe. Self-care isn't just a defensive move you make against bad things happening. It's a proactive, positive force. It's about consciously and deliberately moving toward the things that give your life meaning and purpose. It's got building yourself up, not just patching yourself up.
And that leads to a really, really crucial point. The popular story out there often puts the blame for burnout right on the individual's shoulders. The message we get is, you're just not resilient enough, you're not meditating enough, you're just not managing your stress well enough. Well, the research is crystal clear on this. For 30 years, study after study has shown that our work environments, not some kind of personal character flaw, have the biggest impact on burnout. It's not a personal failing, it's usually a systemic one. I'm talking about things like totally unreasonable workloads, a lack of community, unfair treatment, and a huge mismatch in values. These are the real things that drive burnout. And suggesting that the solution is just to do more yoga is, as one source put it, like putting salt on the wounds of people who are already struggling. So let's bring all these threads together. If being centered in the self isn't just about preventing burnout for you, then what is it? Well, it turns out it has everything to do with our relationships with everyone else. This right here is the ultimate takeaway. Being centered in yourself is not selfish. It's self-stewardship. It's about taking care of your own resources so that you have the energy, the clarity, and the presence to care for what and who matters most to you. I mean, think about it. When you're running on empty, you just can't be the partner, the parent, or the friend that you truly want to be. So how do we actually do this? Here are a few practical places you can start. Pay yourself first, meaning tend to your own mind and heart before the world starts making its demands. Actually schedule time for yourself and protect it like it's a meeting with your boss. Pause during the day. Create little checkpoints just to ask, hey, how am I doing? And finally, get really clear on your values so you can show up as your authentic self. And please let this be a final, gentle reminder to yourself. You are not needy, you simply have needs. You're not selfish for honoring those needs, you are human. And when we can let go of that guilt, we actually give other people permission to do the exact same thing. And that's the big paradigm shift I want to leave you with. What if we reframe this whole idea? What if being self-centered isn't about taking from others, but about building a stronger, more solid foundation within ourselves? We might just find that it's the real secret to showing up better for everyone in our lives.